bring up my chair. And make my table. Oh, I never labeled that. Let's do that now. No wonder I couldn't find it. You see how important it is to label things? Okay, and we're going to turn that off as well. So back to our chair. Okay, now here, once again, I see basically two sections where we're going to do maybe some wood like we did on the table, and just a color like a painted enamel for the legs. So with my material editor, I'm going to go ahead, create a new multi-sub object, material. Put it onto the chair. Double click on that. And the set number is 2. Alrighty. We could have used the other one, you would think, this other multi-sub, since it's going to match. But there's different things that we need to do. We need to apply the picture, for instance, in a different way than the table, because the surface is very different than the tables as far as shape. That's why we're making a separate material for the chairs. And we'll call this one chairs. Okay. Here where it says none, click on that, double click and we'll get a standard. Click on this one, double click, and we'll get a standard material. The first one, I'm going to call chair seat here in just a second after I change the color of it to differentiate it a little bit. And I'll call that okay. So we've got chair seat and chair legs. Okay. Now I like that wood that I used on the table. I could go back to the folder, or I could just shift copy the wood that I've got already. So I'm going to select the wood, hold down the shift key, and just drag it down, and I'll get a copy of that. Double click. I want it to show in the viewport. And attach this to the diffuse color. And you see that I get this showing in the viewport. As far as the legs go, I can double click here. In the color, remember I copied the color, so I'll click in here. And even though I get all this, I can still just right click and say paste. And you can see how it's gone to the exact color that the other one was. Say OK. I'll pull up the specular level. If I remember right, it was 90 and 50. By making whole numbers, it makes things much easier to remember. All right, now that all that's done, let's take a look at our chair. Okay, not too bad. On the seat at least, although the back looks ridiculous. Let's take a look. What if we were to change the direction of this picture? What would that do for us? It's at 90. Let's set it back to 0. How's that? Well, that's not bad. The seat looks really good, as a matter of fact, but the table back just doesn't work. Well, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to treat the table back as something different than the rest of it, which means we're going to have to add to our multi-sub material here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, double click on that, and in the set number, I'm just going to say add right here. Here we go. So we've added one. And this one, we're going to say seat, back. Okay, we've named this one seat back. Once again, I can just shift copy, holding down the shift key, and copying, plugging that into the diffuse color. Now we've got to select these polygons. So back here, we're going to go to our polygon view, and you can just go ahead, put a marquee, and select just this. Now we'll go down here, and those are still selected as number 1, right? Let's make that number 3, because number 1 was the seat, number 2 was the legs, number 3, and enter, will now be the back. Let's see what that looks like. Well, it doesn't look like anything. Let's go back to the material editor. Oops. The material editor. And, oh, you see it's not showing in the screen. Double click on that. Now we can see it. Back to my top level again. Looks just the same. I think we're going to have to do something a little bit more. Here's what we'll do. We're going to add a modifier to this. So above the stack, you'll find the modifier list. Click it. It might take a few seconds for it to come up the first time you do that on a project. And you'll see in here there's all kinds of things that will do, or modifiers, all kinds of modifiers that will do all kinds of crazy things to your model. The one we want is the UVW map. So click that, and you'll see that's added to the stack. You see the first thing was your editable mesh object, the chair. And now it's got this UVW map on top of it, hence the name, the stack. What we want is we want to mess with the gizmo. So that triangle, we can open that up and go to the gizmo. You see, all the UVW maps come with a gizmo, kind of like what you were having before with your move, etc. And by moving that gizmo, we can do different things. So first off, let's change it from a plane to a box. And you'll see. Let's see what that looks like. So we'll click off to the side. Go to the top of the stack here. Click off to the side. Not bad, but we can see that the wood is going in the wrong direction. Okay, back to the gizmo level. And we're going to rotate that. "90 degrees. Now let's take a look. Once again, to the top of the stack. I can click that. Oh, that's not bad at all. That's not bad at all. Everything is lining up perfectly. I think we'll keep that. Wait, what's going on? My legs have changed. Well, that's easy enough to take care of. But first, I'll collapse the stack. Collapse. There we go. By collapsing the stack, and that's very important, now that map is baked in. Basically what you were doing is when you have something like just a box, something simple, Max can probably figure out what you wanted to do with it. But when you have a more complex shape, like the back of this chair, Max doesn't know. It does its best, but you have to tell it. And that's why you give it a modifier like the UVW map. And when you've done that, then you tell Max what you want it to do. After you've done that, you just collapse that stack, and then it's baked in, because basically Max knows what to do. Okay. But back to these legs. These legs turned wooden on me. Let's see what happened. So we'll go to our polygons. We're going to go here, selecting these polygons. Let's go down here, see what happened. Oh, this is now 3. Let's change that back to 2. Okay, I think that's what we wanted. Okay, yeah, that's it. So with that, let's right click and say unhide all. Now we see everything. Make that front wall disappear again. Go to my camera view, C for camera, and there it is. Okay, so now we'd made a second copy of the chair before, but you know what? This chair has all the information that we need. Let's get rid of this one. So I'm going to click on this one, delete it, click on this chair, go to my Move tool, hold down the Shift key, and move it over. We'll call this one Chair 2, and say OK. We can rotate that chair, and there we go. Now we've got a little bit better setup here, a little bit more believable than before. So we'll take a picture of it. Go over here to your production render. Not bad, much better than before, but it's a little bit small to turn in. So we're going to go up here to our render setup. We're going to change the resolution to 1280 by 720. Make a new render. We're going to save this one. Save an image as. Folder up. Project 2B. So project 2B. Once again, your last name. The period. And project 2B. Project 2B, and the format being JPEG, your standard photo format. Save. OK. And you'll see that it's in the folder, ready to rock and roll. And the nice thing is with the picture, now just about any program can open this up. Okay, in the next video, we'll learn a little bit more about lighting. Because you see how we have this black spot here? We have just the standard lighting. Still doesn't look quite right.